Welcome to a brand new episode. We are currently building an LGB garden railway. In the last few episodes, we have already mentioned to you that we can also control the train or tracks and the signals with a tablet. I'd be happy to show you that now as well. Here is my tablet, and for example, we have light here, light on, light off, or also the announcement for the next station. Now. Next stop, or an announcement in general, awaits. How this works, dear Michael, will indeed tell you all about it on the terrace.
I have prepared a small something. We have actually connected the whole thing to the Central Station 3 so that we can control it with any tablet, or for that matter with any smartphone, or in other words, with any device that has a web browser. I now actually have the CS3 right in front of me here, which ultimately administers the entire operation. We have successfully replaced the speed controller. That was indeed the original throttle controller that came with the LGB train starter pack. We had successfully connected it to the classic power supply and had carefully connected the contact wires here in order to then securely connect the contact wire clamps to the track. And what we have now exchanged is, indeed, we have removed the throttle and have directly connected the LGB train to the track connection of the CS3, ensuring its direct integration. So, these are precisely the two cables that lead directly to the train in Elke's garden. And I can now also make the locomotive go slightly slower or faster here on the CS3 with the CS3. For this, I have organized a power supply. This is the weatherproof power supply for the CS3 from LGB. Then take this here for it, which could now, for example, be in the garden. I'd rather set up the CS3 where it's protected from weather, like here on the terrace or in the living room. Yes, and the third cable that goes in here, that's a regular network cable, this white cable here, so that the CS3 now has a network connection. And for that, I took Elke's router from the living room, pulled it from behind the TV, and brought it here to the terrace. Because then I slightly plugged this white Ethernet cable, actually, precisely into one of these LAN ports, at the bottom. It doesn't matter at all which router it is. It must be a normal router, one with a network cable connection. This is, for example, a DSL modem or perhaps a classic router, as it now lies here on the terrace. And normally, a router, so I don't know any other way, always assigns an automatic address. These are those so-called IP addresses, so you see them on the game console, on the TV, on the computer, wherever. They all got a network address, an IP address. And that's exactly how it is with the CS3 here from Marklin. It also now gets an address assigned by the router. This address, that's the one at Elke's. If we look at your tablet again, then you'll see up here in the address, it says that 192.168.1104. Input this in your web browser on a tablet or smartphone to connect. And what address that is and where you can see it, I'll show again very briefly here in the CS3. For that, I'm now going to exit the menu for the locomotive and just press on System up here. Then, you will see the basic menu for the system settings of the CS3, and there, you will find a button labeled IP, which represents the network setting configuration of the CS3. And here you can already see, I have set everything automatically. It automatically says here, this is what is called a DHCP or DHCP server. That's what it's called in the network settings. You now have to know in detail. Ultimately, it means the router here on the table assigns an address to the CS3, and in this case, it's now grayed out, because we simply cannot change it at all. The router assigned it, and that is the 104. If we don't like that, we could press the manual button and could make it 104, 105, 106, or any other number we prefer, if we choose to assign the IP addresses manually at home in our own network. But indeed, very few individuals actually have that, so I simply revert to the automatic setting here. And truly, that was all there was to it. There's nothing more to do. Now, I can simply close the entire menu up here, because at this moment, our CS3 has established a connection to the router. And because the tablet is seamlessly connected to the same Wi-Fi network as this sophisticated router in Elke's beautiful garden, we can now also wirelessly control the entire track, along with all of its functions, directly from the garden. Means the CS3 is now coming into the living room, a long network cable will then go to the router, and then it can stay in the living room, then we can also drive it out here in the rain in peace, or we just go out with the tablet or with the smartphone. The second advantage is, where did I put my phone now? It doesn't matter, because I could also participate in right now. Because I could now also log in with a second or third or fourth device at the same address, so I could also launch a browser on a second tablet or on a second smartphone and simply enter the address again in this web browser. And then, for example, our teamwork could look like this, Elke. You essentially control the train, so you decide how fast the locomotive can actually go, or whether it should stop at a signal, for example, when it's red. And in this case, I am the one who switches the signals and points. That means I switch the signal to red, or switch the tracks to round or straight, or control the coupling track. Everything the heart desires, or we handle two locomotives. Elke gets the beautiful Blicklock, and I'll pick another. Well, and how we then also rearrange everything, how we digitize signals and switches, we will show you in one of the next episodes. If there are more questions, everything you need for retrofitting is linked below in the description. Feel free to ask in the comments.